back to the channel. This is Noob Tanker, the king of the noobs, and today we are checking out the T44. Now the T44 so far has not been the greatest tank for me. It struggles a little bit in the battles, and quite frankly what usually happens is I roll out into the battle and I come back to the garage pretty quick. One of the things that I didn't realize when I bought this, and I really just didn't check it out, was I did not realize the excessive number of modules that this tank has and that you have to unlock. You got the tracks, you got two different engines, which are going to be near just over 50,000 XP just to get those opened up. You have a turret, you have two additional guns you need to open up, and then that doesn't include the pathways to your two medium tanks out of this line. And what I've found so far with this is that this simply makes this tank a very difficult tank to play at times. It is a very kind of poor tank to begin with, and from the replays I've looked at so far, it appears to get to be kind of a capable tank, but it's not real strong to begin with, and I'm having some frustration with it. And because I'm dying so quickly, I decided to go to Watt Replays and go ahead and look at some better gameplay to kind of try to get a sense of what's going on with this tank. Now, the mobility of the tank does leave a little bit to be desired. It does get up to about 50 miles per hour, which isn't horrible by any means, but with the stock engine, it is a slug. And my one rant that I'd go towards wargaming on this is do your community a favor. When you're getting into these tier 8 and tier 7 even tanks, don't give them this many modules to unlock. Fold that cost into either the next tank or something, but get rid of these bottom modules that are going to underperform, make the tanking experience extremely painful, prolong the grind, and really just make the gaming experience worse for your community. Give us something that we can get out there. We can struggle a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. But getting a tank that is so underwhelming at tier 8 is difficult, and it's killing a part of your group, a part of your community that isn't able to sit there and grind tanks every single night, and really just makes it an unfun experience for most of them. So I'm going to drop that rant right now and kind of look at kind of an experience that I've had with this tank, which is I'm going to take you over to Fisherman's Bay, where I thought this tank would have enough mobility, kind of like a lot of the Russian tanks, to kind of get in, put out some fire, and then get back out. And I found that wasn't quite true. As a matter of fact, this tank as a stock engine is kind of a slug. So let's jump over to Fisherman's Bay. I'm going to show you just a little bit of a game clip from there and kind of talk you through what happened and why I decided I needed to start looking for some other gameplay to figure out just how to play this tank better. So here we are in Fisherman's Bay. I had originally come out into the middle section to play the middle ridge like I often do in my medium tanks and my lights. I was looking for those shots on the city as well as those mediums and lights that are poking along that ridge line. We had lost the city. I had tried to create some flanking shots in it, and I had realized the city was completely lost, and we also did not end up winning the ridge line cleanly. As a matter of fact, we'd never end up winning the ridge line. And I knew about a minute before this that I needed to get out of the field. Yet when I get to this position here, I realize I don't have the maneuverability and the speed to actually clear the field. So what I end up having to do is come up to this little dead tank here, this old, looks like almost like a Mark 1, and try to hide behind it and get a little bit hauled down from the city and from the guys on my side. And I'm not going to be able to do that real well. I'm kind of stuck out in the middle here. But at some point you have to kind of decide how you're going to go out in the game. At this point I decided there's no reason for me to run. I'll get caught out in the middle of the field. I might have had a shot right here when they go dark to get out, but in my experience with the acceleration out of this tank, I just didn't think I'd clear the field before I'd get picked off. So I kind of felt like my best bet here was to try to get hidden behind this little hulk here and then try to hopefully avoid some of the mediums here. Now I probably should have done something like maybe a kind of almost more of a little angle towards the medium so it's not a flat shot to my sides. But I don't know if that's going to matter. And I'll get cleaned up here. I'm looking for those shots on the P43 coming over the ridge, the M41 Rev, and just kind of getting surrounded here and trying to be a nuisance the best I can. But now the P43 got it, kind of decided to get brave, shoots me in the side, and the pain's over, folks. So this is actually was one of my better results in this tank. At only 727 damage. I've only played a handful of games in it, and I really was kind of questioning just kind of, did I do the right thing in buying this tank? So I really decided I need to go out to Watt replays, see what I could find there. And I found a couple replays. I'm going to show just one of them and try to share a little bit that I saw with the play style and try to see what I can learn about this tank from watching people who are playing it better than I am, even though they probably have some of the other modules unlocked. So let's jump over. We're going to head over to Karelia and we're going to pick up a little T44 gameplay there. So here we are on Karelia with the T44, and we are watching Oos78 from the AF clan, and this is an assault game and his team will be defending. So let's go ahead and let's get set in and see how he does here. Now right away we see that Oos is going to push to that A0 corner, and as he starts to head out this way, like is a very common experience that occurs, should be really looking over towards that 3 spawn, because not surprisingly we get that first light scout tank, takes that snapshot. Not a bad Hail Mary, might have hit, might have lost. Starts to aim in on the 416, doesn't get a full aim in and kind of has to jerk the aiming reticle at the last second. Tough shot, but you never know, you might get RNG to help you out, and that can be some extra damage. Now he's going to push up to the A0 line, A0 corner here, and looking for those enemies that we typically see on this corner. Now by this aggressive play, which is what we really should be seeing out of this assault map, is you take and control that corner and you now don't allow them just to push in and farm your campers in the back. And he's going to be just rocking back and forth here, trying to light enemies and look for if there's any shots. Now the one danger he has here is that he is not in an already safe position. So if they're pre-aiming here and he gets lit, he does have a chance to get hit. As he's watching this corner here, nobody's showing up just quite yet. So just does a nice job, keep moving in case he does get lit. He's not stationary. And then here comes the SU-152, and nobody wants to take a shot from a 152 directly to the face. They hurt. Kind of puts a KV-85 out in front of him. So now just trying to work the position, hoping somebody's going to get the shot on him. I think it's the KV-85 gets the first shot. He puts a nice shot into it. And now the SU-152 is not feeling so good, right? And here comes the T-32. And is he going to get the shot? He does get the shot, does not finish him. Oos moves up. And does he get it? Do not think Oos is the one who actually gets that one. And then we see the T-34 who tries to take advantage of the angling. And one thing I want to point out here is notice how Oos comes here and he creates an angle so that that T-34 has to make the decision, who am I going to shoot? I can either shoot the T32 and give the T44 a shot on my side, or I can angle towards the T44 and give the T32 a shot. And that's an important thing just to remember in your gameplay is don't be in the same angle if you can help it. I know a lot of the quarter maps we don't really have a choice, but when we can, we want to try to get it so that the enemy can't just face us and use their armor effectively. And it probably really doesn't matter here. The T34 85, although it does have some nice trollish armor from now and again, probably not going to hold up to both the guns that are shooting at him. Now, the other thing to start to kind of keep in mind here and pay attention to as we go through this replay is watch what's going on in the south down here, because we're going to see down in the mini map here, this is going to start to get cleaned out. And there's a point here where Oos is going to have to make a decision on whether he needs to go back to base and counter push or whether he can continue to push forward. So let's get back and see how Oos and the T-34 do. The T-34 85 try to run away, and Oos is able to put him out of his misery. So this is the point that I talked about. You have to make the decision. Are you going to push this side, or are you going to start to come back? Now, the P43 just got lit, so you do have an enemy that would be at your rear if you return. So often in this case, you don't really have a choice. You have to clear out your side really before you can fall back. Otherwise, you're just going to basically allow yourself to be surrounded. So we're going to see Oos move up here, trying to position himself to get a shot on the P43. P43 goes dark behind some cover here, looking for the shot. There he comes. Nice shot into him. Trying to work this corner. GW Panther gives a little balancing, and just as that starts to fade out, we saw that arrow for the hit marker is coming from here. So the GW Panther has to be back in about this region here. And it's just something to keep in mind. As a newer player, I didn't pay attention to those artillery hits as much, but that can allow you, if you're low on hit points, to start to realize where you have to reposition so that you're not taking those hits. And also remember, if you got one already there, you might have a second or third, depending upon the map. In this case, there's a bunches of already in this map. Nice bounce. SU-14-1 takes a shot at him. And he's just using the cover here nicely to allow himself to reload and take safe shots. Hiding behind the rock, let the stun wear off, hopefully go dark, so that when you pull out around here, you don't take another arty shot. And to me, that one almost feels like it's probably a good blind shot. I don't think he should have been still lit there, unless maybe that Object 416 was actually lighting him. And that's a possibility. He could have been lighting him from the mid there, and just kept him a little longer as he went down there. So now you're on the arty hunt. You do have to be mindful. You got two heavies. You know where the IS-3 is. Checking the mini-map, you do have the IS-3 that is pushing aggressively here. We do know the STRV-74 is over here, likely providing support here. So you do have to continue to be mindful that this could get cleared out and there could be a cap situation. But at this point, Oos is doing what he needs to do, and that is get aggressive. You know the arty's back here. You might run into, at most, one medium, maybe the TD, and need to clean this out. And once you clean that out, you can always quickly cross here to get back to the cap. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this is going to wrap up here. Working the corner, slowly peeking it, allowing his support to get there. SU-14-1 fails to penetrate. paper thin armor, can't go through it. Shooting spitballs. Uh, RNG hates you. That's all that is. I know all about the auto bounce angles and all that, but really, Artie that has pretty much no armor should have been a straight penetration. Working against this charioteer, not wanting to take the hit, the full health charioteer, decent gun fire rate. Charioteer does fire, allowing Oos now to push. You have 3 tanks here. They should be pushing together. The other 2 hesitate a little bit. Gets a lucky bounce there. And now it's just kind of cleaning up the charioteer. And notice that Oos is backing up towards that rock here. And that does just give him some cover from anybody else's who is down that K line from being able to shoot him in the rear. The M44 sitting there to be farmed. Tries to back up. The M44 must have just fired recently because it has a fairly fast reload. Decent reload. I'm a little surprised it didn't try to go for a shotgun. GW gets cleaned up, and here comes the 416. The KV5, not sure if he's getting around to look. It does look like he was aware on the mini-map, just couldn't get the gun around fast enough. And now Oos is setting up for that ambush shot. Looking, 416 looking at the ARL, and a nice shot through the cupola on top of the tank. The cupola. I always hate that word. I always struggle with it. You guys know what I'm trying to talk about, though. And now we're off to the races. Now, they're going into the cleanup portion here, and you always get that race for damage at the end. Also remember, good time to try to be mindful that not just to throw your tank away. It's something I know I have a problem with. And the other thing I noticed here is that the KV-85 hasn't been spotted at all during the game, which means that he might be near the spawn, or at least camping in there. He finally gets spotted. And now it's just trying to get those shots. And Oos goes and plays this little position here, and I had really not played this back line very much, but this nice little dip here allows him to come up underneath this bush, gets the turret shot, which is a nice shot with the gun on the T44, right at the top hatch, manages to put it in. Wherever his RNG luck had been gone earlier and bouncing that SU, must be back now, and Stalin must be happy with him for killing the despicable Artie. KV-85 gets stunned by Artie. Notice Artie is lighting where he's aiming. Be mindful when you're doing that. If you are being supported by Artie, give them an ability to actually shoot. I know in the late game it is easy just to rush in, but if you are in a close game, don't go just face hugging. If you're able to stand back and let your support actually take him down, whether it's stunning him so you got a chance to out reload him, or even just doing the damage so you can clean it up. And then the STRV, the last one left, looks like he is running, and I think he got hit. And we got the nice power slide, finishing in style. And it looks like Oos is going to finish this game with just over 3,000 damage, 700 spotted. That's a pretty good result in any tier 8 tank, especially when you are top tier and it's not a tier 10 game. So nice replay. Kind of the big things that I was paying attention to, because again, I'm watching this to help try to learn for myself as well. Some of the things that I noticed is he does get a little bit lucky in just the, most obvious thing. Gets a little lucky that the tank forces they sent to the A0 line weren't real strong. I'd be interested to see how this turns out if, say, the heavy tanks, the IS-3, was on spawned on that, or even the KV-85. But he does play that corner really well. I noticed that he never really put himself in a position where he had to rely on his armor. He tried to take careful shots, try to get in position to shoot from a safe angle. He does get a couple bounces in there and blocks, but really trying to be smart in how he uses his HPs. And then just working that flank. And that's one of the things I've noticed in other WOT replays. A lot of T44 players tend to try to work the edges, try to work that flanking angle, trying to get those nice shots in, not relying on what I'm feeling is kind of untrustworthy armor. I'll be interested to see what happens over time as I continue to play this tank. So that's just kind of what I was noticing and some of the things that I said. Obviously, it is a lot easier to commentate on someone else's gameplay than actually to play well, because if I could play well, I wouldn't need to be able to watch other people how they play to figure out for my own self. As always, good luck, have fun in the